you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to The Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to The Songwriter Show. I'm Sarantos, your humble host and a fellow songwriter with a passion for crafting stories through music. As someone who's been writing lyrics for as long as I can remember, I know how every single song holds its own unique story. That's what brings us together here each week to celebrate the voices behind the music we all love. Tonight, I'm so excited to have Will on the show. Will's got a very interesting story, and we'll talk about it, but basically he's a guitarist and songwriter who's performed with numerous bands, as well as being a solo artist. And he's got a couple different names. He records under both Will Tynan, instrumental guitar, and Will Ettante, folk, pop, and comedy.
And now, welcome this week's special guest.
So welcome to the show, Will. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on.
You're welcome, man. So I guess we'll talk about your multiple personality disorder. So tell us a little bit about, do you flip back and forth? Do you have different settings? You use the different personas? How does that work for you?
For sure, yeah. So I think it was always been an interesting question for me because I'm somebody who's had a really broad range of interests musically for as long as I can remember, and kind of grew up in a household listening to everything from Renaissance music to, hard rock and everything in between. And so really, as I write music, it falls across a wide spectrum, and having different artists to kind of put that out into the world creates some freedom, I think, to experiment in both, and also they inform each other a lot. So I've been releasing music under my name, Will Tynan, instrumental guitar music, and then also sort of over the past few years had written a lot of material that fell into a kind of different pop, comedy, folk category. And so that's where Will Ettante was born, which is sort of a play on the concept of being a dilettante, which is a jack of all trades and master of none. And so sort of speaking to the breadth of that, but certainly there's certain contexts where one or the other, kind of lands differently. But I really enjoy doing them both, and I've been touring across North America for the last few months, playing smaller shows where I will switch back and forth between both of them, and that I think really provides a lot of variety and a lot of fun.
Yeah. So tell us about any instruments you might play.
Yeah. So I guess I'm primarily a guitarist. I grew up, like I think a lot of musicians do, with kind of a rotating kind of musical chairs of instruments, if you will, where it started with piano, played cello for a little bit. And then finally, when I picked up a guitar, the combination of, I think, a natural affinity for the instrument and also just being able to play songs that I was listening to really unlocked it for me. And so that was, probably 25 years ago that I kind of first started playing as a kid. And that's been my main instrument. But I, especially as I've expanded into doing more production and working in a broader range of genres, have gotten back into keyboards and synths, and we'll definitely program drums. I'll do live program drum loops and things like that as part of a live show too. But everything kind of comes back to the guitar, and so that's a starting point for obviously my instrumental guitar stuff starts and ends there, but it also often is a starting point for my Will Ettante songs as well.
And tell us about your songwriting process.
It varies a lot. I think I find that there are certain periods of time where I'm really feeling the sort of, new song idea energy. And so we'll create a lot of starts of songs in very quick succession. And then other times where we're kind of the crafting and putting meat on the bones and obviously the fine tuning, once you've actually done some recording and post-production stuff, really scratches an itch. And so I find that there will be weeks or months where I'm really heavily doing one or the other of those phases. But I also think a lot of songs just kind of, and this is not a unique insight to me, but a lot of songs just kind of appear within a very short span of time. So one of my favorite instrumental songs is a song called Turn Loose. that I wrote probably total in the course of, 90 minutes and start to finish once it got going. And sometimes that'll happen even with that, even not with instrumental songs. But I think that I'm a real believer in kind of going where the energy is, and if something is really pulling me in and I'm feeling obsessed with it, I gotta listen to that and strike while the iron is hot. So I've definitely had periods of time where there's a whole week where all I wanted to work on was one song over and over and over again to polish it, and that's a great feeling as well. So yeah, it kind of varies.
Was your family musical at all?
Very. So my mom was actually a Renaissance and early music professor and performer at a small college. And so I grew up going to all kinds of early wind instrument and choral ensemble concerts, almost weekly or monthly. I'd be going to something like that. And, wonderful instruments that I need to pick up someday, like the crumb horn and the sackbut and all of these hilariously named instruments from the Renaissance and Baroque periods. My dad was also a singer and played guitar and some piano. And so my parents always joked that they fell in love at first thought, which is very corny, but I think true fact about them. And so it was always there. And, there were records in the house and always the encouragement to pick up an instrument. And so, I have kids now, and I think if you can provide them that opportunity, there's really no limit to how much it can kind of nourish their brains if they're into it. So I'm super grateful for having that up.
Yeah. Tell us about this song that we're going to hear in a few minutes.
The song is called It's Mood. It's one of my instrumental guitar songs. And it's a song that had a very long, you talked about songwriting process. It's a song that had a very long journey for me. So the kind of core bones of it, I wrote probably 10 years ago, maybe even more. And it kind of sat there, and I loved playing it and didn't really know how it all fit together until about a year ago, when something clicked in my head as far as live performance that really unlocked the layers that you'll hear in the song, which is sort of layered harmonics throughout and then a kind of building crescendo. But the song is technically an Irish jig, which I sort of had a feeling as I was writing it that it was connected to some kind of some of my cultural heritage. My dad's side of the family is Irish, but it wasn't intentional. Just sort of happened that way. But once I sort of thought of it in that context, it also changed the way that I thought about the melodies and writing it. But to me, it's really a sort of celebratory, happy-go-lucky song in a lot of ways, where there's some sort of consideration of the heaviness of life, and then a real kind of feeling of letting go of what you can't control. And obviously it's easy to project a lot of emotions onto an instrumental song, so I hope people will make of it what they hear. But it's one that I really love playing and always kicks up a lot of steam. I've been waiting for somebody to do a river dance at one of my shows. I always invite them, and someday I'm holding out hope that someday there'll be maybe a river dancing, Irish dancing troupe that'll surprise me at a show. But I'm still waiting.
All right. Tell you what, let's take a listen and we'll come back and talk some more, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. So check this out, everybody. Here we go.
2 hours of sleep, caffeine is wearing off. Is it a cry or is it a cough? Can't for the life of me keep my clothes clean. Don't have enough time for basic hygiene. But at least spiders can't fly. At least there's blue in the sky. Circumstances might be adverse, but this universe could be much worse. The alien gods who are pulling the strings, determining our simulation settings, not the nicest guys all around, but arachnids stay on the ground. And at least spiders can't fly, at least there's blue in the sky. Circumstances might be adverse, but this universe could be much worse. No, it really ain't grand scheme. On a multiverse spectrum, we're living the dream. I know sometimes things really do blow, but imagine a flying black widow. Spiders can't fly, at least brown recluses can't fly, at least wolf spiders can't fly, lay eggs in your hair. At least spiders can't fly, at least there's blue in the sky. Circumstances might be adverse, but this universe could be much worse, could be much worse, could be much worse.
Okay, thank you for sharing that song with us, man.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for listening.
You're welcome. So, how do you balance your musical career with other obligations you might have in terms of other jobs, relationship, kids, anything else going on for you?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So I've actually had a little bit of an unconventional path to arrive at being a musician. I had a kind of 10 plus year career in business. I worked as a consultant, always kind of with an artistic, both set of hobbies, but also even sometimes the focus of my work was helping people bring creativity and innovation into the work that they did. But was really felt like I needed to invest as much time as I possibly could and kind of really make it my main focus about a year ago. So that's what I've been doing. And I think, I have two kids, I mentioned this, and they serve as a really interesting kind of reminder for me about staying playful, holding things more lightly. And obviously they take up a lot of time. And so I think the sort of like, I like to throw my kids in the air as a workout. It's kind of the same thing. I like to try to find ways to have the time that I spend with them not feel like it's taking away from my creative time or my creative life or vice versa, but really try to find, to the extent it's possible, ways for them to feed off each other. And so in part for me, that's been writing music about my kids. It's been incorporating, teaching them music as a way to kind of push myself creatively. And, and then obviously it's sort of thinking about time that I'm spending with them as, time for my brain to reset and time to switch into a different mode. But I'm also very fortunate to be married to someone who, works at a big company. And so we, have found a way to make it work for us. And I'm really grateful to be able to do that. But I think there's no question that the time, there's only so many hours in the day. And so it'll ebb and flow. But for me, I think that the energy that I get from spending real time making music and putting it out there and working on the craft and performing, I think is the kind of example that the seriousness with which I take that, but also kind of the playfulness and not taking myself too seriously is a model, a role modeling that I hope my kids will take to heart for sure.
Do you have anything fun coming up for the fans this year or next year that you want to share?
Absolutely, yeah. So as I mentioned, I've been kind of touring for the last few months across North America and have a few more of those shows coming up in the spring. So Minneapolis and Atlanta, DC, a couple of other spots throughout the winter, and we'll be doing a lot more shows next year, kind of as both Will Tynan and Will Ettante. But the big release news kind of on the horizon is that my sort of full-length debut album as Will Ettante, after releasing a few singles, is going to come out in the spring, and that's kind of a triple album of material called VDAD. And I'm really excited. A lot of that stuff is stuff that I've been working on for a couple of years now, and and it's kind of three chunks of more kind of folky renditions of songs, more real raw, almost voice memo kind of versions, a cappella versions of another set of songs, and then very kind of polished poppy, even a rap song on there. And so it's sort of a journey across the kind of production and creative process for me, and it's also a sort of a real kind of celebration of the different ways that those songs have kind of come into being. So it's about fatherhood, it's about grief, it's about growing older, and it's about kind of taking the heavier parts of life and making light of them in a way that doesn't diminish their seriousness, but sort of looks at those things as two sides of the same coin. So I'm really excited to put it all out there, and it'll be coming out in a couple months.
Okay, cool. What's the last thing you watched on TV, and why'd you choose to watch that?
Oh man, that's I think the last thing was Stranger Things. Trying to get back into it now that one's coming out for the final season here, doing a little bit of a revision. But and I really enjoy sci-fi and fantasy for a lot of reasons. So I'm most of those shows and movies in that genre are ones that I will enjoy because I love the way that it kind of pushes my thinking, and that one's in particular really great because of the cultural immersion in the 80s, which I think a lot of us are really enjoying, kind of living for the first time or reliving depending on when you're born. But I always find myself kind of, musically thinking a little more in terms of synthesizers and these kind of bigger beats and a lot of reverb and stuff like that coming out of immersing in some of those shows. So I really enjoy it. But that was a fun one.
Okay. Tell us where people can buy your stuff, stream it. Where can they find you?
Both artists are out on all the streaming platforms and also social media, so kind of across the spectrum, and Bandcamp as well. But yeah, Will Tynan and Will Ettante, both on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, everywhere you kind of listen, and then Bandcamp as well is a great place. But the YouTube is a great home for a lot of the instrumental guitar work, and I regularly put up live renditions of songs up there, and also do music videos for those songs. And Will Ettante is a little more short form video friendly as well. So those are on Instagram and TikTok and those places. But yeah, I also have websites, willetante.com and willtynan.com, both of which have merch and releases and news and updates. So yeah, I would encourage everyone to follow me on there, and hope to see some of the listeners out at a show or out there as I'm on tour.
I want to thank you so much for being on the show tonight, dude.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure. I really appreciate you having me on. Thanks so much.
No worries. And thank you to all the listeners out there for spending a little bit of your precious time with the two of us tonight. We know you have choices, and we appreciate that you chose us. If you'd love to be on the Songwriter Show, please head over to songwritershow.com. I'm Sarantos, and I hope you'll join me every single Tuesday evening on Reality Radio 101 as we uncover all these inspiring journeys behind music. Keep creating, and I'll see you next week. I love you all. Thank you. The air feels clean. The sky is quiet. The moon is dreaming. This feels like the night. Something special will happen. Something memorable. Something quite drastic. Man's future path will be changed forever. Jesus is born. Let the angels rejoice. Jesus is born. Mankind will now have a choice. Jesus is born. feels right. The animals know somehow this feels like a moment in time. Something special has happened, something meaningful, something rather fantastic. Heaven's doors will soon be open forever, forever. Jesus is born. Let the angels rejoice.